All right, so today I wanted to talk about how important it is to be jacked and healthy as an entrepreneur. So, a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, whether it's on sales calls and DMs or just in general, is they'll say that they need to prioritize on their business and focus on that. And I always kind of want to shake some sense into them because it's like the better your body is, the better your mind is, the better work you create and the better outputs you create. So, I want to tell you a quick story, and this is going to be very relevant to entrepreneur situations and how they can improve. So, in golf, for the longest time, you thought of golf as a weekend sport. It was kind of just a bunch of unfit dudes who just drank beer and played golf on the weekends, whatever. And no one really took it seriously. No one thought of them as athletes. But then Tiger Woods came in, and he was an athlete. He thought of it from the mind, from the perspective of an athlete. And so he came in and he crushed it because he was fit, because his tool was really good for the outcome he was trying to achieve. And he completely smoked everyone, and he became the best golfer in the world. And so I see a lot of connection with that in the entrepreneurial space. A lot of times people think it's just their mind is separate from their body, but your mind is not separate from your body. Your mind is intertwined. Your body and mind are synergistic. And so when you prioritize business but neglect your health, you're actually not prioritizing business. Whereas if you maximize your health, maximize how you feel and your productivity, then you are maximizing your business. Like I said, because your body and mind are synergistic. And it's something that's super important to understand, and super important not only to understand, but also to implement and actually do it. Because it's easy to think about it and realize that, but then not actually take any action. So I want to go over 4 steps on what you can do to actually implement this into your life and get the benefits from productivity. So the first thing I want to go through is sleep, because sleep is the most important thing we do on a day-to-day basis. And most people think of it as something they can just push around and not really care about it and go to bed at 1 a.m. and still be fine. I know from having good sleep for most of my life, if I have even an hour less sleep, I'm probably operating at 60%. It's that significant for me. And so people can adjust to lower cognitive output from not sleeping enough, but it's just not worth it. Your outputs are just not very good. Your decision making is not very good. Your emotional reactivity is just off the charts, basically. So it's really important. And practically how to do that. There's this idea that people think you should set an alarm and wake up at a certain time. And I think there is some value in that, but from my experience, setting a bedtime is much more realistic, sustainable, and actually leads to better sleep. Because I don't think we should be waking up at a set time when our body needs to rest more. If your body needs to rest, you should let it rest. And so the best way to do this is to set a bedtime. Let's say it's 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 9 p.m. for you, whatever it is. Pick something that's consistent. Consistency is more important than something that you can do for 4 days and then not do it, right? So let's say it's 10 p.m. Pick that bedtime, and then maybe you'll have a wake up window of between, if it's 10 p.m., it might be, say, 8 to 6, or maybe it would be 7:30 to 5:30, something like that. And you'll know that you'll wake up before 8, and let's say you start work at 9. So then you're good. And that's the best way to do it, to actually implement it, is to just stick to a bedtime. So to stick to a bedtime, it can be difficult, but I would say gamifying it and making it something fun, like tracking it with a Whoop, or there's even something called Sleep Cycle, which is an app you can download, and that'll gamify it and make it fun. So we got sleep covered. The second thing is going to be diet. So our body basically takes in inputs, nutrition, the meals we eat, micronutrients, and it puts out outputs, right? And if you're putting in terrible things in your body and expecting good outputs, it's not going to work. It's fine if your goals are not business related and you don't need a very sharp mind, but we do. We need to be very precise in our decisions, very quick sometimes, able to articulate ourselves properly, and it's very important for us, right? So in that case, we need to focus on our inputs so we can get good outputs from our body. So for diet, those inputs are generally going to be single ingredient foods. And I know you've heard this all before, but it's super important. So I want you to take an audit of the foods you eat. If you eat, most people eat about 5 to 10 meals on a consistent basis. So take something, just for example, right? All you need is one meal, ideally your breakfast or something like that has a bigger impact, and audit it. Let's say if you have bread or toast or eggs or oatmeal, whatever, pancakes, something like that. What I would recommend you do is try getting rid of the complex carbs. So you can have, if you have vegetables, that's fine. If you have fruits, that's fine. Proteins are fine. Fats are fine. But just try getting rid of bread or rice or oatmeal or anything like that that you eat in the morning and see how you feel. Because I can tell you it's night and day. I used to think that I had to fast in the morning to get that productivity boost, but you actually don't. You just need to not eat foods that make you feel lethargic, foods that take a lot of energy to digest. So I noticed that in the past I was eating eggs on toast and butter and olive oil and some spinach. And it's not like that's unhealthy per se, but after the meal, I just couldn't do any work because I was just tired. My body was like digesting. And so I had my energy diverted, right? And that's what would be considered a bad output or bad input in relation to the output I wanted, right? So that's the first thing I would recommend. Just try that. And once you fully hit that point where you're like, I get what Etienne's talking about, you'll get addicted to it and you'll realize this is important, I gotta fix it, right? That's the first thing. I think it's just a knowledge gap for most people. It's just you haven't had the reference experience of changing something, being on the other side of it, because maybe you've eaten a certain amount of food or a certain type of food your whole life, right? Or for the past few years. So the third thing is exercise. So we all understand exercise is good. I'm not going to go over the basic health benefits, obviously, but what I'm talking about is resistance training in particular. So resistance training is where you lift weights to build muscle. So you progressively overload. You can do different splits, usually between 2 and 6 days a week. If you're really serious, 4 and 6 days a week probably. And it's extremely important because it'll put you in this calm state. So if you're going into sales calls or meetings, once you've already lifted weights or exercise in general, but especially lifting, you'll feel much more calm, much more relaxed, and you'll make much better decisions and much better choices because you're not in that stressed state. Cascading benefits, if you stick to this, is way more confidence in how you look and how you conduct yourself, and that carries over through not only your business but your whole life. How you interact with people, how people treat you, how people perceive you. A lot of success is about perception and negotiation. And the way the world works, if you have a imposing physique, you look like you're someone who's put a lot of time and determination into something, you'll be treated with more respect, more authority. People will treat you better in general. And it's just another one of those things where you just need to take my word for it, or if you haven't built the physique yet, or look around. Maybe just pay attention when you're walking around somewhere. If you maybe notice how you treat someone differently. If you're walking next to somebody who's like really jacked, how maybe you'll kind of like step aside, or like you'll kind of like avert your gaze. Just pay attention to it. It's interesting. It's really interesting once you start looking at these subtle cues. So we've got those three things. And then the fourth thing that I want to go over is your stress management and your mindset. I'm going to go through what I've learned about stress management and then mindset, which I think is very similar and very important. I would say mindset is probably the most important out of all these things because it's actually how you stick to doing something. In my life, I've had a lot of trouble with consistency with some things. So if it's something I didn't really align with, I would just not really do it. I might do it for a few weeks, but then I would stop. The things that I've actually stuck to are the things that are part of my identity. So for example, I'll tell you a quick story about this. So I've always been someone who exercised. I've always seen myself as a fit person, right? And so when I started working out, it was very seamless because sure, sometimes it was a little bit difficult, sure, sometimes I didn't really want to do it, but at the most of the time, it was kind of just like, that's just who I am. So I just do it. Like how you just brush your teeth. I'm a person who brushes my teeth. So you brush your teeth. It doesn't really require much motivation or energy or discipline. It's just something you do. And that is mindset. That is self-image. That is belief, right? A lot of people talk about mindset and they think it's really important, and it absolutely is. It's just they don't really understand how to change it and then the exact reason it's so important. So stress management is similar, because if you're acting in a way you don't want to be acting, you'll feel stressed about that. And the quickest way to fix that is through your mindset, is through your belief system about the thing you're doing and how you do that thing. So that's why I say this is intertwined. All right, so what I've learned recently, and it's been super helpful, is if you want to change your behavior, those 3 behaviors I talked about before, or stress, whatever, you need to change your identity around the thing. So let's take sleep, for example. I want you to complete this sentence. When I think about sleep, you might have thought something. Personally, I thought I love it, right? And that's probably why my sleep is good. You might have thought something, so just pay attention to that. Maybe write it down. Let's say you thought it's a waste of time. That is your belief system, and that's your self-image that your actions are following from. Humans, I need to take a quick tangent. Humans never act outside of their belief system. They never act outside of what they believe to be true. For example, you probably believe correctly that if you kick a boulder, you will hurt your foot, and so you won't kick a boulder. If someone truly delusionally believed that kicking a boulder will give them $1 million, they're going to be kicking that boulder to kingdom come, right? So that's just how it works. And we can apply this exact same mindset. It sounds so simple, so ridiculous in that context, but when we think about these other self-improvement things, people just forget about it. So it's important. So you need to change your belief around sleep. If you have this is just an example, but if you have a bad relationship with it. So you need to think, I love sleep. I am a professional sleeper. Sleep is my number 1 priority in life. I feel so much better when I have a full night's sleep. I always prioritize my sleep. I always go to bed early. I always go to bed on time. I always get 7 to 8 hours or 8 to 9 hours, whatever you need, right? And the way you do that is through the simpler things like affirmations, visualization, and reading through your goals or your manifesto or your things like that. Because your brain basically just takes in information, your subconscious takes in information, and it builds beliefs around things. So the best way to describe this is that your beliefs are like a scale. So your beliefs are one of those old metal scales where they had the thing and then the little metal dish on each side, right? You can think of your beliefs like that. And your scale is here. So let's say this is the negative scale and this is the positive scale. So if you believe something like sleep is good, I love sleep, that means that you've had positive experiences around sleep, you've thought positive things around sleep, and you've put rocks on this side of the scale. Every positive thought is a rock on this side of the scale, and it starts to tilt. The more tilted it is, that means the more you like sleep, or the more you like this thing. So if you want to change this and become the person that can sleep, become the person that can exercise or eat healthily, right? You need to stack the rocks on this side of the scale and then minimize these. So the ways to do that are, first of all, being very aware of your thoughts. So if you think of something negatively, this is much easier said than done. It's kind of like building a physique in the sense that you have to put a lot of reps into it for it to actually change. You police your thoughts. So if I have a negative thought or I'm failing, I'm not doing good, you just tell that thought to shut the fuck up, basically. You tell it, no, don't say that. And then you replace it with something positive. I'm doing this well. I slept for 8 hours. That's so fun. Or that's awesome. Or I slept 7 hours, which was more than I did the other day. So awesome. I'm happy about that, right? You fix your thought pattern on the one hand. On the second hand, that's taking away rocks from this side. And on the other hand, you want to practice these visualizations or affirmations or things like that, where you can put more positive experiences and positive thoughts on this side. So that would be practically, you could spend 5 minutes visualizing, get in the habit of it, or you could write down 2 or 3 affirmations that you do. And the important thing is that you need to make it a positive experience. The bigger the positive experience, the bigger rock you put on this side and the bigger it'll tilt, if that makes sense to you. So what you want to do is have an affirmation or have visualization and really feel that and feel happy. If you're thinking, if maybe the affirmation for you is, I want to eat healthy, make it like, I love healthy food. That's how I feel about healthy food. I like it. Like it's just awesome. It tastes good. So what you want to do is have the affirmation that could be, I love eating healthy. I always eat healthy and I feel so happy about that. And you would visualize yourself eating something healthy, like broccoli or whatever it is, right? And in your mind, maybe make it cool, make it interesting, maybe have some toppings on it, whatever, and really be happy about that. Be awesome. I did that. That's so fun. I really enjoyed that. It was so good. And it made me feel better, and it's awesome. It's gonna make me more productive in business. So do that, and you will tilt these scales. You will change your belief, and you will make all those habits that I just talked about so much easier to actually implement. The main thing is consistency and consistently stacking those rocks. And over weeks, you'll notice it kind of quickly sometimes. It's a little bit interesting. Over weeks, months, and years especially, you will have no issue following through on those belief systems and acting in accordance with your new identity. So that's all I wanted to cover today. I think it's a super important topic that I'm glad to have more information about. I do have a link in the description. I don't want you to click it if you don't want to, but if you're interested, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about this, or if you're having any difficulties, you can. Like I said, I don't want to the point of these videos is just to help you, but just in case, it is there. And otherwise, if you thought this video was helpful, then leave a comment. I'd be curious to see what you thought or anything you guys are doing in your life, and subscribe if you like, and I will catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace.